Welcome back to investingnews.com. We're once again speaking with Adam Wooldridge from Cobre Limited. Welcome back, Adam.
Thanks, John. Good to be here.
Oh, you're welcome. Now, the market's recently been giving the company a fairly positive re-rating. Can you take us through some of the reasons behind it?
Yeah, sure. Look, obviously it's a more positive market these days, but I think from our side, a lot of that re-ratings coming from our Ngami project, where investors are starting to see it as a real development opportunity. This is also sort of hinged on some of the background. It's been in the last 6 months that we've been able to do a full-scale bench scale test, if you like, proving the in-situ copper recovery process on this program. And this has involved, metallurgical test work, simulating the in-situ environment, proving that we can get copper recoveries of between 30 and 80% from whole core samples, and then being able to take that right through the solvent extraction process and produce a high quality copper cathode in a laboratory with a very low contaminant. So having those sort of metrics really gives you the confidence that we can run an in-situ copper recovery process on the ground. We've already proven up the hydrology on this project, which has been a huge milestone. So actually being able to go through that whole in-situ recovery process in a laboratory and prove that works is another major milestone. And then I think, we released an MRE a few months ago, and it's not so much the indicated and inferred resource over Comet that's really attracting attention, but it's the scale of the exploration target. We're looking at a project with 200 to 300 million tons at close to 0.5% copper. That's really an excellent comparative to Tasseco's Florence copper in Arizona, which goes into production using a similar method. So that's an in-situ copper recovery method. We've got the same scale, higher grade, arguably a simpler hydrological setting. And there you've got $1 billion market cap company. So this gives you a real idea of the kind of growth potential that we can achieve at Ngami. And I think these are starting to feed into our share price.
Well, it's been very busy times, Adam, and a lot of milestones you just covered. So for investors, what are the next key catalysts which are coming up?
Sure. So look, on Ngami, what we really see as a re-rating opportunity is putting a pilot or a demonstration plant into production. And that will involve an actual injection of acid into the ground, and we'll be able to electrowin some copper cathode as part of that demonstration plant. But ahead of building our pilot, so just for background, we've already done the flow diagrams, we've done the design work on the pilot study, but we need to get our environmental permitting in place before we can go ahead and actually run a process in the field. And that's puts us into the environmental permitting process. We've had really good feedback from the Department of Environmental Protection in Botswana. They've essentially reviewed the scope for an EIA that we've put forward to them, and agreed that the scope will satisfy the permitting requirements to build the pilot study. So basically now we're in the process of completing an EIA. We should have that done in about 6 months. We've had Loki Environmental contracted to put that EIA together. Just for background, they also did Sandfire's EIA for the Mateo Production Hub. And so they're very well versed in the legal framework in Botswana and the requirements from the Department of Environmental Protection. It's really useful having this EIA defined. Once we have that in place, we can basically build on our existing EIA to take the permitting all the way through to production. So this gives us a real clear roadmap forward from a permitting point of view. And that's significant. If you had to compare this to other projects in other parts of the world, the permitting can be a real roadblock. You could take several years to get that through. So really encouraged by that.
Okay, well, touching on Botswana, Adam, as a place to operate, what's the copper production history that has happened?
Well, Botswana's founded on mining. Their history's always been in diamonds, of course. We're seeing a large push from the government to diversify out of diamonds, not surprisingly, given the current state of diamonds. So moving into other commodities like copper is a big driver for them, and we'll certainly get a lot of support for that from the government. Copper production is relatively new in Botswana, particularly in the Kalahari copper belt. It's really been in the last probably 3 years now that we've seen the belt morph from a very promising exploration play into a producing copper district. And that's really with Sandfire going into production, and then with Zone 5 going into production, and MMG coming into the belt for that $2 billion purchase of Khoemacau. And for us, it's been a big change. We got into this belt early on. We got a dominant land position. We're still the second largest landholder in the Botswana portion of the belt. We were able to pick a lot of prime real estate on the basin margins. And seeing that now morph into a producing copper district has been hugely beneficial for us. So we expect a lot of support in Botswana. It's obviously a great jurisdiction to work in. Routinely top of the Fraser Index for mining investment in Africa, and for good reason. It works.
Now, moving to financials, Sinomine recently became a substantial shareholder. Could you take us through the details?
Sure. So that Sinomine's really focused on our Okavango project. It's a project next door to MMG. We had Minmetal Securities broker the deal with Sinomine for us. And essentially what it allowed us to do was to take a placement at a 30% premium to our share price at the time. Obviously, that's gone up quite a lot in more recent months. But it gave us an opportunity to bring in a new partner to really focus on the Okavango project. The placement we took from Sinomine was used directly for exploration on the Okavango project. They can invest up to 3 million Australian in exploration, and then they have the right to purchase 70% of the project for 7 million Australian. We get free carried or loan carried for our 30% share down to PFS. So it's a really favorable deal for us in the sense that it gives us an opportunity to work on a really prospective project that we haven't had that's kind of fallen a bit on the back burner with our focus on Ngami over the last few months. So we open up our Okavango project. It's a really strategic project, and we bring in a new partner onto our registry, which is great. We've been looking a lot more at Ngami and our partnership with BHP over the last few months. Now we have another really exciting project on the go.
Well, finally, Adam, just to touch on the Okavango project again, could you take us through the strategic location?
So Okavango is next door to MMG. If you have to look at geological context, basically what you've got, all the major contacts from the known deposits on MMG's ground. So you're looking at Zone 5, Zone 5 North, Selena, Basetta, Zeta. All of those, the contacts extend from those deposits across into our ground. The geophysics that we've collected in Okavango suggests we have the same sort of basin setting that you'd have next door at MMG. But in addition, we did some drilling last year. We were able to hit some encouraging copper sulfides. And that also demonstrated that we're in the same sort of basin setting. We've got every potential to see similar deposits as you have next door on MMG's ground. And I think the important thing here is, having MMG as a neighbor means you've got a lot more exploration activity happening next door, and a very logical outcome or place for any sort of new discoveries that we have on the ground.
Thank you very much, Adam, for joining us today. Very busy times in Botswana. We look forward to seeing you again soon.
Fantastic, John. Thanks for having me.